Many Nigerians need more legal identification to access social services, with over half the population needing documentation. Only 12% have a national identification number, and less than 1% possess an identity card. Africa 54 tech correspondent Ndiho spoke to Hilary Damissah, editor of Cyber News and COO at the Center for Cyber Awareness and Development in Abuja, about a new project that aims to create a digital identification system for all Nigerians.
Digital identity is an advancement on physical identity. I know, Paul, you drive, and if you drive your car, you are expected to have a driver's license or permit. Now, that is a physical means of identifying you, whether you meet some specifics in order to be able to drive particular kinds of vehicles, maybe truck, smaller vehicles, or vehicles for commercial purposes. Now, digital identity is an advancement on that physical form, which requires verifiable and authenticated means through digital channels and with the consent of a person. It involves things like having your biometrics captured, and then your details are then verifiable via a platform for you to be able to engage in specific services.
To what extent are people embracing this new technology? But in this particular case, we are talking about you give them your name and they're able to pull up your information from a computer or from a phone.
Interestingly, in Nigeria, the process of digital identification management, it's gaining so much traction because the government has put in place policies to ensure that all citizens acquire the digital identification, and that is under the government agency that is known as the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC. They issue a unique personal identification number, which is called the National Identity Number, NIN. That means your phone number is integrated with your national identity number, which enables you to access government services like issuance of passport, your international passport. You need that number before you can access that service. Like process of writing university examinations, like the joint admission matriculation examination, you need that national identification number to be able to qualify for that. For instance, if you want to process your voter's card, which enables you to participate in the general election, you need the national identification number. So in Nigeria, citizens are now mandated to get this number, and many other African countries like South Sudan, like Kenya, like Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, and all of that are also undertaking this process.
Make some very interesting points, but one would argue that even though governments are pushing people, their citizens, to get these digital IDs, we still get a lot of people who have figured out how to beat the system, and they're able to break into these systems, hack into these systems, and take advantage of the data that is there. How can the government in Nigeria, or any other player for that matter, stop things like that from happening?
The fact that people can break into these data, these systems, and compromise them does not mean that the intention or the provision of these services are bad in itself. Now, in Nigeria, for instance, there is the Nigerian Data Protection Commission, an agency of government that was signed into existence by an act of parliament in June 2023. The National Commissioner for that agency has been doing a lot of work, Dr. Vincent Olatunji, to ensure that the data of Nigerians in the custody of different agencies of government, like the immigration, like the national identity management, like the telecom service provider, that this data is in good custody, is protected by law, and to the best of the ability of the state, it is secured, and everything possible is done to avert these breaches. But people would still always want to exploit possibilities of the vulnerability of these processes.
Our thanks to Hilary Damissah, the editor of Cyber News and the COO at the Center for Cyber Awareness and Development in Abuja, Nigeria.